she couldn't hang on, but said everybody at the Arnold Denny's, big Trump supporters out there.
Oh, great. Good morning, Arnold's. Denny's?
Yeah. And speaking of support, how about the outpouring of support for Officer Blake Snyder yesterday? Was just amazing. And I encourage you to kind of, if you have a chance to look at some tape of the funeral and things like that, and some of the speakers and his brother, and it just is really amazing. It just makes you so appreciate our law enforcement folks. And it was a sad day yesterday, but the outpouring of support was nothing short of incredible. By the way, police will tell you that, you know what, people who lie, because guys who interrogate people all the time. Before I get to Maria real quickly, a world-famous homicide detective said what they do normally how they catch somebody is when they think you're suspected of killing somebody, doing whatever, they have you write down all of your actions the entire day. And usually how they know you're the person is that at precisely the time that the murder was pinpointed, they also precisely have what they were doing at that particular time. It's the only time they're actually precise is the time at which the person was murdered.
They go into like great detail at that.
Yeah, they catch him every time like that. So any of you murders out there, I didn't want to give you any tip-offs, but
now you know.
Now but I'm getting to my point here. The accuser of Donald Trump, Jessica Leeds, was very particular when she told the New York Times that Donald Trump molested her or did whatever on a Braniff International Airways 707 from Dallas to New York in 1979. And why did she say a 707? Like, why would you even really know what it was? But she told him it was a 707.
Huh. Good.
So, but it turns out they didn't have any 707s flying on that particular route. Only 727s. I'm not saying she's lying. I'm just saying that liars are always very particular about their whereabouts and about what they were doing, sometimes to the point where they're overly particular because they want to act like their story's even better. And in this case, she was overly particular, and it turns out she was wrong. Just saying. We'll put that up on the stove for you so you can check it out. Maria Bartiromo, crying out loud. Looking forward to having Maria Bartiromo on. Maria, you know what's amazing about this morning, and it's actually happening quite a bit. I'm hearing from a lot of non-traditional Republican voters who either voted for Obama in 2012, didn't vote at all in 2012, have never voted, and are voting for Donald Trump. I find that fascinating.
It really is, Jamie. I just think that as we watch what has gone on this election, particularly when it comes to the media, and in some cases downright collusion, where, the media has just decided on their candidate and they are just going, driving strong, doing whatever they can to make sure to take him down. People are angry. People are saying, you know what? Yeah, maybe I like this person, I like that person, but one thing that I don't like is lies. And I want the facts when it comes to the media, and I want the truth. And I don't want lies. And so I think that's bringing out supporters from the woodwork.
Yeah, I mean, and now there is a question. I realize there are some Republican voters who have walked away from Donald Trump, and the question,
there's that too, right?
And the question is whether or not there are enough of these non-traditional voters to fill their chairs. I happen to think, based on my just anecdotal analysis, that there are.
I think that's all we have is anecdotal, because when you look at the actual numbers of the polls and what the polls are telling us, it doesn't appear that way. But I'll tell you, Jamie, when I go around and I sort of talk to business, particularly small business, I spent last weekend, in a small town in upstate New York, and I couldn't believe how much support there was from small business. I'm talking about the guy who runs a booth at the farmer's market, the woman who runs the local restaurant, the bagel shop owner. The small business is desperate for Donald Trump. And so that, I don't know, is getting captured. And then there's this whole silent majority or silent I don't know if it's a majority. It could be a minority, but they are basically not admitting that they are voting for him, but they want him. So I don't know that we could really read 100% into the polls. I do think he hurt himself these last couple of weeks, obviously, with the women comments. But I also think that people are questioning why now. I mean, when you consider the fact that NBC had that tape and sat on it, they wanted as much impact as possible. So they released it 48 hours before the debate. That enrages people. Why are you getting involved in this debate? And so it gets people so mad. And then there's another thing, whereas what you just said about the victim, or the victim in quotes, who basically says it was a 707, and then we find out that it wasn't at all, and there wasn't even that flight, and there was no armrest that could have gone up. She says, "Oh, the armrest mysteriously goes up." That was a bunch of BS as well. And then there's the fact that apparently now we're hearing that the tape was doctored. I mean, Billy Bush said a lot of crude things in that interview, along with Donald Trump, but NBC decided to edit that out and protect Billy Bush. And so why are you editing a tape? Okay? And so all of this stuff is just getting people out of the woodwork and getting people angry. I mean, when I look at small business and when I look at the Twitterverse, people are just mad. So I don't know. I'm not going to say it's over. It ain't over till it's over, to quote Yogi Berra. So
right.
We'll see.
Well, it's interesting, too, that you mentioned the Braniff story, because it is true. On the 727s, the armrests are not adjustable. And it had to be the flight, the plane she was on, because they didn't fly 707s on that route. And then again, you go back, and then you have the other accuser from People Magazine, who on her Facebook page, she's got all these pictures of her with Mike Tyson. Hanging out with Mike Tyson, a convicted rapist. It's like, really? All this stuff, obviously, listen, if somebody has a legit complaint, you do want to take them seriously. I get all that. But this looks like just now that thing with Billy Bush, boy, I didn't know. I knew they didn't want to hurt Billy Bush, but I didn't know they actually edited the tape. Wow.
Well, they took his crudeness out.
Yeah.
And then, there he is. And at the end of the day, he gets fired anyway, right? I mean, they took him off the air. So, there's a lot of questions. Having said that, Trump continues to get in his own way. I mean, let's face it. If he would just stick to the economic policy, he would be so much better off. I mean, Jamie, when you put these two economic plans side by side, anybody, whether you're Republican, Independent, Democratic, anybody can see that you will move the needle on economic growth with a plan like Trump's. If you're cutting taxes, particularly cutting corporate taxes, encouraging businesses to hire more and invest more, rolling back regulations, which is the single biggest thing that is hampering growth for business. Okay, they are just strangled by regulations. Number 3, tapping into energy. We've got a rich resource in this country. And number 4, redoing trade deals that are not advantageous to America. And then you look at her plan. She's got 8 tax brackets. She's raising taxes on the highest earners. That will encapsulate small business. The small business is just going to see more of the same that they've seen over the last 8 years. That's not going to be an incentive to hire and invest.
Right.
She wants to, build on these regulations. She's going to kill the banks. She's going to kill the healthcare companies. I don't know if you've noticed the stock market, but in the last couple of weeks, healthcare has been hammered. The healthcare stocks have been plummeting, and the biotech stocks have been plummeting because there's this rumor going around that they're going to have a sweep, that the Dems are going to have a sweep. They're going to win the presidency, the House, and the Senate. And people are just unloading their healthcare stocks with both hands because they know that when that happens, that's going to mean price caps. That's going to mean more regulation for drug companies. And that's probably going to be the case for the financials. So You've got that. The stock market's also reacting. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that's interesting. Now, one thing, if you're worried about Trump getting in his own way, one thing I am glad he didn't do is take the bait on Michelle Obama, because they clearly wanted him to tweet something horrible about her, and he hasn't responded at all to her eviscerating speech yesterday, and I think that's a good sign. So.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to stop taking the bait. I mean, that's the biggest mistake he has been making.
Yeah.
Because they know how to rattle him. I mean, from you have small hands to, your father gave you money to anything else. I mean, he is constantly explaining himself.
Yeah.
He's got to stop using all of the oxygen in the room to explain himself and instead use the oxygen in the room to explain his policy.
Right on.
Explain why his economic plan is better than hers. If he doesn't start doing that, he's in big trouble.
All right. So what's on Sunday Morning Futures, very briefly?
Well, I am off to Vegas on Monday to cover the debate. It's going to be all about the debate this Sunday. We've got Frank Luntz coming on, talking about polling, what he's seeing from his focus groups. I'm going to talk with the co-commissioner of the debate, Frank Fahrenkopf. He's the co-chairman on the Commission of Presidential Debates. Talk about what we should expect from that debate, why a town hall is different than a one-on-one, and what we should expect out of it. We'll talk with Newt Gingrich as well. Newt has been really honest. He's been an honest soldier in all of this. And so I want to get Newt's, estimation of not just the presidency, but these down ballots. I mean, because if we do, in fact, see a sweep and we see the House and Senate go, this country is changed for a long time, Jamie, in terms of the Supreme Court, and the regulation. So we'll see. We'll talk to Newt on Sunday as well, on Sunday Morning Futures.
Yeah, well, Republicans are hurting themselves badly at the down ballot races by abandoning Trump. That's my opinion anyway. But
I agree with you. That's the thing. The Dems, and Jamie, I saw this firsthand when I was at the Democratic National Convention. The Dems get in line. It doesn't matter what the narrative is. They all get on board. The Republicans will not do it, and they cannot do it. I mean, the Democratic National Convention, real quick, day one, Debbie Wasserman Schultz is pushed out. She's the chairman of the whole convention. Wow. It was a huge story. She gets pushed out because of her emails that she was obviously in the tank for Hillary, and they were, doing so many bad things to Bernie. The media spoke about that for about 3 hours. Then it was all about Russia. Russia! Why? Because the Democrats came out with this narrative that it was Russia who hacked, and Trump has a cozy relationship with Putin. They completely made it up. It makes no sense whatsoever, but they did it. They all got on board. They did it forcefully and together, and now we're still talking about Russia.
Maria Bartiromo,
it's incredible.
I want to confess my deep love for your passion.
Oh, thank you.
I just want to let you know you are the best, and the fact that you take as much time as you do to talk to us on Fridays, my audience absolutely adores you. We love it, and we can't wait to check in on Sunday Morning Futures.